We begin tonight with a 7-year-old disabled boy at risk because he's being forced to live in a cold garage due to a lack of appropriate housing, according to a South Auckland social worker. Mum Maria and her 2 children have been camped out in a relative's garage for 6 months, including all through lockdown, sleeping 3 to a double bed. There are 4 generations in the granny flat. 7-year-old Jerasiah, who has cerebral palsy, relies heavily on a wheelchair, and his 8-year-old sister has epilepsy. In January, Maria brought her family home to New Zealand from Australia to escape a violent relationship. She's on the housing waiting list, but Maria says so far work and income has directed her to several unsuitable properties, including motel units with stairs and no disabled access. I went with cameraman Nick Munro to meet the family. In this quiet street, metal garage doors are a dime a dozen. But roll this one up and instead of a car, you'll find a family of 3 parked up because there's nowhere suitable for them to go. Hello, Jerasiah. How are you?
Good.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you for having us. 7-year-old Jerasiah lives here with his mum and sister. He's got a megawatt smile, a keen curiosity.
Oh, careful, the walls. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. Yeah, I know. You got to be really careful because you might scrape the walls. Go right.
And is a whiz in his electric wheelchair. But Jerasiah has cerebral palsy and is entirely reliant on Mum Maria for all the essentials.
Do you want your biscuit and milk, Jerasiah? Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
He needs full assistance from me, so I do everything for him. He can't actually walk to the toilet or anything. I have to actually take him out of his wheelchair and put him onto his commode to take him to the toilets and things like that. I have to feed him. He can only pick like just little bits and pieces, bites of food.
Charlie D'Amelio, I know her.
Like a lot of kids his age, Jerasiah loves video games. It's something he can do without much help, and it keeps his hands and fingers nimble. And he's keen as to show us his room.
You coming?
I am. My name's Jerasiah, and this is my room. I sleep in the middle. And just back up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
But let's be clearer still. This is not a room. It's a garage. The giveaway is the roller door a few metres from the bed. The family's possessions are boxed in tidy stacks around the perimeter. Clothes hang neatly on the overhead tracks that the garage door would roll up on if opened. There's not a lot of wiggle room here, especially for someone in a wheelchair.
Back. Back out.
The garage is also the laundry, so there's a sink and a washing machine a few metres away from the bed. Just one bed. Over there, what are we looking at? The back of the roller door, is it?
Yeah, that's the back of the roller door.
And in front of us, we've got... Is this a
double bed?
Double bed.
Yep.
Now, who sleeps in this bed?
Me, Jerasiah and Alaria, my 2 kids. We are
all of you in the same bed?
Yeah, all 3 of us in the same bed. We actually heads there, legs out here.
Okay, so this bed is lying sideways, not the normal way.
Yeah.
And for all of you to fit in, you have to turn the bed sideways, and that would mean your legs hang off the edge of the bed, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
There's a tower of blankets on the bed. It's getting cold in the garage. 8-year-old Alaria, who has epilepsy, is busy drawing a series of rainbows. She's tucked up on the top of the bed she shares with her mum and brother. Nights can be a little unsettled.
It's pretty much hard because I have to always get up late at night just to turn my son because he can't roll over on his own. So every night, it's like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock at night, I'm up. I have to toss him onto the other side. He weighs over 30 kilos now.
The garage is attached to a perfectly nice granny flat, home to Jerasiah's great Nana, who turns 96 this year. She also relies on a wheelchair and her carers, Jerasiah's grandma and granddad. It's a Housing New Zealand property and the family's worried they're breaking the rules of their tenancy with the rest of the whānau in the garage. There's not enough room here for the gear Maria ideally needs to care for her son, including a hoist. She does all the heavy lifting, including manoeuvring Jerasiah from the bed to his chair.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
That's so much work. Okay, I'm sweating already. It's the lifting.
Changing her son's nappy is a workout. Then there's the nighttime lifting.
I can't really sleep at night. It's because I have to make sure whether they are warm enough, especially in the garage. You know, I don't want him to get sick. Because once he gets sick, it's a more worry, more stressful to me.
How much time do you spend worrying? If you're honest, really honest.
I worry all the time when it comes to my son. I try and do the best I can for him, but I can't really do much at the moment because we don't have that much space that we need to have for him to have a proper sleep and things like that.
What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is for him getting sick, having a seizure while we're asleep or something like that.
Maria's fears are grounded in her stark reality. About 6 weeks into their stay in the garage, Jerasiah was rushed to hospital by ambulance after suffering a prolonged seizure. According to his Middlemore Hospital medical notes, it lasted about 20 minutes on and off and was followed by vomiting. Maria had just left the garage to get his breakfast. When she came back, Jerasiah's arms and head were jerking, his teeth clenched and mouth frothing. Utterly terrifying for Maria. Diagnosis: a seizure and a viral illness.
Cancer drags me down. It pulls me down, but I can't think of that way to not do much. I have to just do what I can for my kids, especially for him. I know it's hard, but I don't know. I just...
Trying to stay positive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go outside.
Maria says she went to work an income for housing help in February with details of Jerasiah's disability and health problems. And she says she made it clear where they were living. So they knew you were in a garage?
Yep, they know that I'm in a garage. When they first did my assessment, they knew that I was in the garage.
Maria was shown properties in February, including motels, but none of them had disability access. Work and Income says it's apologised for that. Even here, the families had to improvise with a very makeshift ramp knocked together from some leftover wood so Jerasiah can get in and out of the house under his own steam.
Come through. Come through this way. Come.
Maria and her 2 children spent lockdown in the garage. MSD has provided Checkpoint with a statement. It says during lockdown, its ability to support Maria with her housing needs was limited. But it says it was in phone contact with the family. Maria says they called just once during that time. Now, MSD says Maria is on a waiting list for a 4-bedroom modified house in Manukau. But it goes on to say affordable accommodation is tight across the country, including Auckland, and it can't say exactly when a house that meets the family's needs will be available. Mangere social worker Alistair Russell has been working with the family.
Simply unacceptable. It's not okay. It's not okay in this country for any family to be living in this situation. We have the resources, we just simply lack the will to actually turn those resources into housing that people can actually live in and housing that is suitable for a diverse range of need.
So what's your message to the agencies who are dealing with this family?
Get your act together, front up, actually address this family's needs, stop pretending that they're just one of the 20,000 on a waiting list and actually be kind to this family and get them into a house that will protect this boy's health.
MSD says it's working on what support it can give Maria while she waits for a suitable house. It's also referred her to the Ministry of Health. For Maria, coming up 6 months in this garage, she has simply had enough of being parked out of sight.
It's really hard. I struggle. I struggle a lot, but there's nothing I can do. Nothing anyone can do. I have to do it. It's my son. And I'll do anything for my son.
What's the worst thing that could happen here?
without being over dramatic. This house is potentially lethal over the winter months.
The day Checkpoint approached MSD about Maria's case, it reviewed her priority rating for housing, raising her up 4 grades from A12 to A16. The highest rating is A20. In a statement, the ministry said it reassessed Maria's priority rating to more accurately reflect the challenges of securing housing with wheelchair access. This had not been fully considered in the initial assessment, it says. It did not specifically respond to our request for an interview. The minister responsible for social housing is Chris Farfoy, and he will be joining us from our parliamentary studio in just under an hour from now.